since he did the lesser banishing ritual earlier, I'm gonna do the
Who did it?
Mike.
before.
So that's what he was doing in the beginning when he was
Okay.
like, "You're ready."
Oh, yeah.
That's how he was doing the LBRP.
So I'm gonna do the I'm gonna do a mini operation. So I'm gonna consecrate, clear the space, and I'm gonna just do the hexagram ritual. It's basically taking you on a higher level of the tree of life.
Mm.
The banishing ritual pentagram is more like in the material with the elements. The hexagram ritual is more in the astral or the macrocosm.
Right.
And the micro is more of the one that
Okay. And that's not a cigarette you're holding. What is that? Just for
This is,
no,
incense.
the other thing.
Oh, this is called
For the benefit of the craft. There you go.
Yeah.
this is called double wand of power. So basically, it's a magical wand. The white is used to invoke. The black is used to banish. And I use it every morning to invoke the highest powers of the name of God and the 4 archangels, and at night to banish to clear my space.
Oh, very good.
So consecrate first.
Just bring that a little closer to you.
I consecrate with fire.
Yeah, I gotta show you that picture.
Henry, your noon rest, your
So send me
Virgo,
that.
Isis, mighty mother, Scorpio, Apophis, the destroyer, Soul, Osiris, slain and risen, Isis, Apophis, Osiris, position of Osiris slain, Isis morning, Apophis and Typhon, Osiris risen, L, V, X, Lux, the light of the cross. Aretha. 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 Henry, your noon rest, your Virgo, Isis, mighty mother, Scorpio, Apophis, the destroyer, Soul, Osiris, slain and risen, Isis, Apophis, Osiris, position of Osiris slain, Isis morning, Apophis and Typhon, Osiris risen, L, V, X, Lux, the light of the cross.
Mm.
And that's it. That's the hexagram ritual you would do after the pentagram ritual.
So
Well, before I do that, you want to just put your number in there?
yeah,
So
I got
send
you.
you that.
Oh.
That took a while to memorize, no?
Yeah, I mean it's like masonry too as well. You know, you start right with the Q&As, and eventually you pick on maybe the small lectures, the different parts of the degree. Then eventually middle chamber, and then you do the master's work, right? So it's the same thing with that. I started with just the Kabbalistic cross, you know, Atah Malkuth Vegebur Vegedur Leolam Amen, and then eventually add to the pentagram ritual. Then after that, I started learning the hexagram ritual.
Thank you.
But yeah, it's like with anything. But
What about the middle pillar?
I got you already.
middle
middle-
pillar.
You
The-
put yourself in
I put
there?
yeah. I just
Oh, I was
yeah
about to say,
yeah
I
no
don't know that.
yeah no. I just put my shit in there. The middle pillar is awesome, bro.
Yeah.
Because I mean, we were doing it one night at Lodge, right? And I don't know. They wound up waking us up maybe like 10 minutes later or something. And I just didn't want to do it because, you know, I like to do things that I can touch and maybe not touch, but I like to do things that I can feel. I like to know that whatever I'm doing is something that I know I'm getting progress with. So having stuff come out of your crown, like out of your feet, and feeling that to me is like, whoa, you know, just even like with the ohms.
Yeah.
So I was talking to Rocco about the ohms and everything like that, and He says like for like monks up in like Tibet or something like that, right? And there's more practical ways to go. But when I do ohms, I vibrate. I vibrate, and I've tried other ones. I don't get the same feeling. I like to get the feeling because I feel it. If I feel it, I feel like it's working. Sometimes if it's blind, doesn't mean it's not working. It just, I like to just know that it is working, right?
Is that something that, because this would be, what would be the category of what I just witnessed?
Ceremonial magic or high magic.
Okay. Is that something that, like, how'd you get exposed to that? Because there's a lot of people out there that don't understand, don't believe, they've never seen it before. This is all new to me because being, in touch with you and seeing and understanding, and you giving me a deeper understanding of the intention and what you're trying to bring out, or even that sounds crazy to somebody who doesn't really have an open mind. Because me, I'm super open to things, and I want to understand it because everything has its place in the universe, and to see that certain people, it brings some type of uncomfort, right? Because they don't understand it, and there's things that I don't understand, but it's very similar to anything. You go to church and they have their psalms and stuff that they sing, and, and just being in unison. And I believe the word is egregore. You use it a lot, and it's something that I'm like, oh, what's that? And that's the perfect thing about this is it breeds more questions and more questions. And it's not, as you get older, we try to find comfort, but the true searcher of light should always be open to things and just kind of. But that could also be counterproductive if you don't understand what's going on. Like, what are you subjecting yourself to? But to circle back, because I kind of ramble sometimes, but where did was it after Masonry? Was it, like, what introduced you to it? Because you seem to have some type of understanding to it.
I don't know anything, right? I just, I don't know anything, right? But I think it happened, I don't know what I should say, but yeah, I mean, it's definitely, becoming a Mason, but I think it happened inside the Magus Guild, Scottish Rite. Bunch of like-minded people getting involved with different systems, and what I think for myself personally is that like I had to like unteach myself of everything I've been taught, and to not have any superstition, and to sort of be open to, just because some people does it one way and we're told it's not right. Doesn't mean it's true. People do things differently in different places.
Right, you should search yourself.
Right.
Find your way.
It's fine. Like, you don't even have to put a name to it. If you have a practice that works and it's effective, but it doesn't have a specific name, or it's not signed to a specific program, you gotta just let it roll sometimes if it's working. That's what I was told from somebody, a good brother. I was like, look, I don't know what this is, but this is what I'm doing. And he said, why do you need to name it for if it's working? He's like, it's working. So I said, all right.
And that's
and he comes from a very, very different background. He's he's a Haitian brother. So you can put it together.
Yeah.
And
right.
I think if you're very comfortable in who you are and your beliefs, and this is my belief right now in the moment in time that I'm existing. You find your people, you find your way, you find certain things. But I've always been interested in everything, and whether you're subjecting yourself to blessings or even the other side of it. If you're comfortable in who you are and your beliefs, you should be able to throw yourself into the unknown and really search. If you're seeking any type of knowledge, if you're seeking any type of wisdom or light, for lack of better words, you're gonna go out there and really ask the questions and I don't know if subject yourself to those different environments, but just go out there. Like when you're searching a new territory, finding the new world, or some of these explorers going into the Amazon, it's the same thing, but maybe on the spiritual realm. I don't know. But it's something that we forget to do as adults, because you become so concrete in your beliefs, and you forget to, like, what brought beauty to your childhood. imagination. Imagination is really dwelling in the unknown and coming up with, oh, what does this mean? And could this be a possibility? It's the same thing guys do when they go to the movies or watching a movie like The Matrix. You know, it's not a representative of reality, but it could be. You know, what interested you in this to take that path of acquiring different ways of living life and armoring yourself, I guess, for your day to day?
I think it's just I've always been a seeker, even when I was a kid, growing up. You know, very.
You're super. You were raised, if you know, people know who you are. You were raised super traditional in your religious beliefs, right?
Yep. So even my upbringing of super religious beliefs and traditionalism, I've always been a seeker at asking questions. I've always asked, my parents, but why did God do it this way? I was always like inquisitive, always asking. I was always trying to grasp the nature of creation.
Right.
And from a young age, and like even to the point where they said when I went to doctor's office at 3 years old, the doctor would call me their little philosopher, because I was always like just like asking and just putting stuff together. So I've always been a seeker, and there was a point in my life where I wasn't seeking as much spiritual realm and more in the physical sensations, right? But as soon as I went through that darkness and seek the light, it was just I wanted to know and consume how the universe worked, how I work and how I'm associated with the universe, and then as my place, and then as above, so below. Where do these thoughts come from? The universe is so vast. How do I connect to that spiritual realm? And that's what my path's been, like getting that connection and learning how to go there. We're creating the image of God. That's a powerful thing if you truly understand what that means.
Yeah, I mean, before we get a little too ahead of ourselves, I'm a horrible host. I am brother to all, Brother Daniel, host of Days in the East podcast, We the Problem production. To my right is Brother, go ahead.
Johnathan Maldonado. I'm on my podcast is Maldo's Magic Podcast, also New Atlantis Podcast with collaboration with Days of the East and Maldo's Magic. And we also have the Comb Over series where we just comb over different books. But that's me.
And the interpretation of whatever we're reading, because it's big. Just to touch on that collaboration that we have, what we tend to do is grab a book of interest, flip through it randomly, stop on a passage, read the passage out loud, and see really what we came up with. How did this person interpret it? And when you're offered that opportunity to look through the lens of another person, it gives you a better understanding of who they are and also how to communicate your message in a way that they can understand. And then also to my left, Brother
Roy Musico.
Of?
Lindbergh, Massapequa, 822.
All right, give the plug. What do you do for a living, brother?
I'm a mortgage banker for interstate home loans. Been doing that my entire life since like 98. I love doing it. Love helping people get into new homes.
Give me some other accolades. Are you a father? You have kids?
So I'm married for 18 years. I'm with my wife for 26 years. I have two healthy, beautiful kids. My daughter's 14, my son's 12. Upper honor roll students, both. Get that from their mother.
I love that.
But my daughter teaches dance, and she's also she dances. My son's a ball player. He's into baseball. He's a hell of a ball player. And I'm not saying that because he's my son. The numbers don't lie. I am proud of it. Listen, I love being a Mason more than anything else, really. Next to being a father and a husband.
Now you're proud and you love being a Mason, but would you say that Masonry is proud to have you as a member, as a brother, as a participant?
I hope so. I mean, I'm any work that I put in, I'm doing it for the sake simply because I want to do it. I think that having a boy is big because my daughter can't be a Mason, so if when my son could petition, if I'm no longer here, and they're like, oh, you're Roy's kid, your dad was a real Mason, you know, I do that so that someone's going to look at him like, yeah, his dad put in the work, whether I'm here or not, that they give him that respect. Like, he's coming from good genes,
right.
You know? His dad was a real Mason. So I do a lot of that stuff for him. Maybe it hits him, maybe it doesn't, maybe it hits a grandkid, I don't know. But I'm gonna just continue to do work. I don't really do it for acknowledgement, but I'm just gonna continue to just do what I can for as long as I can breathe. And if I get acknowledged, great. And if I don't care. I'm Brother Roy from Lindbergh, Massapequa, and that is special and great to me. I don't need any other titles ever. Yeah. That's enough for me.
How many years have you been part of this fraternity?
Going on 7.
7 years, okay. I love that you said Brother Roy.
Brother Roy.
Now, Brother Roy alludes to identity. Now, what's your last name?
Musico.
What do you do for your last name? Last name is lineage, right?
Yeah.
What do you do for your last name?
What do I do for my last name? Well, I hope that I'm living a life that my son will grow up to continue to bring, right? And that he'll continue to push forward the way that I do and get involved in the community and give back and be respectful and be the best version of himself that he can be. And hopefully I lead by example and he takes our name, to the next level.
Legacy.
Yeah.
Like that. Brother Maldo, what's your last name?
Maldonado. There's some history with that last name.
Go ahead.
I don't know if you want me to go into it. So
why not? That's what we're here.
I recently did a Knights Templar pilgrimage. After I became Sir Knight, I went to get in touch with my ancestral roots. So my great-grandparents on both sides, came from Spain and went to Puerto Rico. And I wasn't born there. My mother was, and my father was born here. So, we're patriots at heart, but I'm in touch with my roots. So I went to this spot called Salamanca. It's north of Madrid. And one of my ancestors built, it's called Casa de los Conchas, is Rodrigo de Maldonado. And on the house, we have our family crest. So it's 5 fleur-de-lises because the story was we got it from the French king for saving one of his knights. We asked for 3, that's French royalty. He said, no, he'll give you 5. So I'm big on history. I'm big on my last name. And when my father did some trips to Spain and Italy for photography, he actually, in Rome, at a monastery he stayed at, found our crest was there too as well. So for me, I love that. I'm like, what were they doing? The one in Salamanca, he was in the Order of Santiago, which was a Spanish version of the Knights Templar. They're the ones that protect the pilgrims on that pilgrimage within Spain. So I'm very connected historically to Templarism and to that, and so I really cherish and respect the legacy of my last name.
Okay. Now, I want to touch on that. I love the legacy element of it. Positive male influence prior to joining this craft. Who was your pops, grandfather, cousins, brothers? Give me a positive male influence in your life.
Positive male influence before joining the craft? Yeah, definitely my father has always been that. He's always been, the one that since I was young pushed me to reading. He's the one that set the foundation of our religion and our faith and taking us to church. He was actually he's an ordained minister. So growing up, we're heavy in the church. So I thank him for the spiritual background of pushing us to read the Bible. We were the Christian kids going to public school that didn't dress up for Halloween because that's how strong we were with our convictions. Right. We didn't, we're very strong with that. And, he's definitely, I've learned so many lessons from him. And he's probably been with that. And my grandfather, who actually passed away a couple days before I became a Mason, he also, too, where I feel like I get a lot of my business sense from because he ran businesses in Puerto Rico and out here. So, I've always, looked up to them as well.
All right, I love that. Brother Roy, positive male influence prior.
Yeah. So my dad died when I was like 8.
Really?
8 years old. So I was kind of forced to sort of
take on the male role
pretty fast. I was an only child, but still had to step it up quick. I'd say positive male influences. I would say my grandfather. He was a very respected guy. Carried himself in a way that commanded respect. Following that, I would say that it's my stepdad, self-employed guy out in Long Island, kind of telling me like fundamentals. Like, yo, listen, one day, instead of asking, you'll be able to work, make your own money, not have to ask anybody for anything. And it'd be the greatest day of your life. He was completely right. It couldn't have been more true. So yeah, I would say my stepdad and my grandfather.
How many years, if you don't mind me asking, I don't know if this is off the book, I could edit it out later. How many years after losing your pops did you were not exposed, but did you welcome this other male influence into your life?
So maybe 7 years later, he was, I guess, with my mom, right? Mm-hmm. So 7 years in, and you started seeing, dating my mom, and I was, to be honest, I was a 14-year-old kid with a chip on his shoulder. Mm-hmm. Truth be told.
Yeah.
And he stuck around. I wouldn't have. Not with me. Mm-hmm. Not at that age. I wouldn't have done it. So I think it was probably till by the time I was 20, 21, there was that mutual respect.
Right.
Full disclosure, he was the best man at my wedding, if that says anything.
Oh, wow.
Right? A lot of people don't make their dad. Listen, he's a stepdad, but he's a dad, right? Mm-hmm.
What's the difference between father and dad? There's a big difference.
Yeah, he guided me in the right direction. And when we got married in 2006, I had a lot of great friends. I'm loved and I'm grateful to be loved. But I didn't think anybody else should have been there other than him, because he seen me at my worst. He, at the time, seen me at my best. And I felt that, it was an easy decision for me to make.
That's beautiful, bro.
Yeah.
That's really beautiful. And that's one thing that I want to highlight about this fraternity. Everybody's a repository of information. Even the worst people in the world have something positive to offer, whether that be watching them and how they exist and saying, I'm not going to be like that.
Sure.
Or in times of conflict, how they exist in a positive way, or just to be able to say, all right, I'm going through it right now, but there's going to be a point in time where there's going to be highly rewarding. And it seems like you had that. And it takes a certain caliber and quality of a person to see that and to not give up. So I'm glad that I got to experience you saying that, because it's something that a lot of people in this day and age deal with.
Yeah.
Divorce is on the rise. And a lot of people just give up right at the point where you might reap reward. What do you think was going through his mind when you said, I want you to be the best man?
He was kind of blown away by it. Mm-hmm. Wasn't expected. It's very uncommon, right? That doesn't happen every day.
I've never seen it.
I told him, I gave him the rap. I was like, look, there's nobody else. That's it. I was like, you could do this person, this person, this person. It's all great in conversation, but let's face it. And I just, jogged his memory a little bit. We went from this to this, and I went from here to here, and that was under your watch.
Right.
So although you didn't, I'm not, let's say, biologically your kid, you contributed to my growth in a way that, I could never, sort of repay. Mm-hmm. Right? And he was, very gracious and accepted it. And, we took him to AC, for one of the bachelor parties, and I kept him out all night. And we still got some pictures at the tables, which I don't know how it's possible to have the pictures at the tables, but I got putting pretzels in his mouth. It's pretty hilarious. But, yeah.
What character traits did you take from him?
Business guy, do the right thing, hustle, make money. You're only as good as your name, guard it with your life, like your reputation. Do the right thing.
Yeah.
Just, it's simple, man. Just do the right thing and good stuff comes. Doesn't have to be hard. Everybody tries to make it so difficult. Like, be the best version of yourself. Be honest everywhere. Be honest on the baseball field. Be honest in the boardroom. Be honest with yourself. Be honest.
Right.
It's not crazy. A lot of times people just, they don't want to do it.
I think some type of confidence has to come also in who you are as a person and what you have to contribute. To circle back to your father, rest in peace. 8 years old is still pretty old. What did you get from Pops?
Honestly, kind of young, man. You know, don't remember too much, really. Went to some ball games, you know, normal daddy stuff. But I don't think I was at the age where I was able to process a lot of information where it was, you know, that I can retain today and say, hey, I grabbed something from him.
Right.
I kind of missed that.
Well, that's the beauty in it, that, you know, a lot of people want to live life backwards, but, you know, you were, in my opinion, a lot of times when we're in the moment, that's when we are fully ourselves.
Yeah.
And to give yourself the stage of, here you go, you're it, I'm going to sit back and observe this, make the necessary corrections. He gave you a great foundation of self to really welcome in anything else you go. Because in this fraternity, too, you had 2 positive male influences in your life that maybe have bred safety, but also at the same time, too, going into this fraternity, there's a bunch of brothers younger and older that you could receive the same thing for.
I have. I tell you, Brother Mike LaRocco, honestly, he's been a friend, a brother, an uncle, a priest, a rabbi, a shaman. I mean, he's held so many hats. It's crazy. And super positive male influence. Couldn't be, you know, super grateful.
Right.
Really. I mean, he's touched a lot of people. So when I hear this stuff, like you're saying, celebrate him, he should be celebrated.
I appreciate that.
He should be celebrated.
I appreciate that. And, you know, it's something, like you said, you had a chip on your shoulder at one point in your life.
Sure.
A lot of people don't get rid of that. This is who I am. And in existing, you kind of go into any situation, and as an alpha or sigma or whatever, you want to introduce your presence and your identity and say, I'm here, right? But in Masonry, a lot of brothers come in and they're welcoming knowledge and saying, this is who I am. I'm willing to learn. And that's something I feel a lot of groups, whether it be male, female, a lot of people just like, nah, you know, I know who I am. I'm not, you know, willing to learn anything. And they just kind of relive the same life over and over and over. And there's no real growth with that.
Not fun.
And you can't really exist. You can't really exist positively in a group unless you kind of become a little bit part of the group and say, I have something to contribute, but at the same time, too, I'm also willing to accept the identity of the greater whole. How could I make this better? What do you think on that? I don't want to leave you out back there.
That's right. I'm enjoying it. It's great, you know. Yeah, no, that's the difference between Masonry and other groups, really, you know. Masonry is about depth. Masonry is about, you know, really, like for me, too, even with other groups before Masonry, like, I've always been the oldest, right? So I've somehow subconsciously been looking for, you know, maybe a bigger brother, you know, or maybe a grandfather, because my grandfather lived in Puerto Rico, so he wasn't, you know, around growing up. My other grandfather lived in the city, but, you know, he passed away my senior year, right? So, like, I think for me personally, maybe I've been looking for that, and within other groups and Masonry, you know, I've been, you know, able to find a bigger brother or maybe the grandfather figure that's kind of been helping me, that's maybe a little more experience in life and in Masonry, and, you know, been helping me to understand that, you know, take your time with it, and giving me some good words of wisdom and guidance through some or different situations in life. So I think, you know, Masonry is good for that. You'll basically, divine providence with the assistance of Masonry will fill the void, you know, that you need, you know, because I think it's very important for a male in society today to have that masculine senior to help them and guide them on this path of life.
Very good. When it comes to practicing Masonry, it's been super traditional for me. Opening and closing, discussing business of the lodge.
Light of the evening.
Light of the evening.
That's my biggest thing.
Which is again, you know, a lot of times you're going over some type of Masonic work, some type of publishing from a Masonic author, or even just reflecting on, you know, some of the history or some of the members that have shared this experience with us, you kind of push the envelope a little bit, and that's one of the things I love about it.
Me?
With the introduction of the ceremonial magic and stuff like that, you intrigue a lot of brothers, and I'm sure that's welcomed in some places, and I'm sure it's shunned in others. What's the biggest I don't want to say opposition, but when have you ever been met with kind of like, yo, what are you doing, bro? We don't. This is kind of crazy. Well, this makes me uncomfortable. I don't think it has a place in Masonry. Have you ever been met with that?
Oh, okay, so I think
like singing bowls and things that entice the human ear, or some of the incense where it's like, oh wow, this smell. I've smelt this before. It takes a memory. It brings back a memory that I had as a child, like stuff like that.
Well, I think for me, I'm a traditionalist, right? If you look into the trestle boards of all the degrees, without giving much, and there's nothing to give because you could go online and see it. Incense is on the Master Mason trestle board, so I don't think I'm like. Maybe there's some stuff that not to get too personal with it, in depth with it, because I love the craft. But yeah, there's some stuff that maybe there's some situations where maybe we're setting up a chamber of reflection. They're like, well, this doesn't have a place in Masonry, and it's understandable, right? Because maybe there might be no direct point in the ritual where it specifies that, but in a way, if that thing is similar to something else, if it's just a thing, right, without going too deep into it, then it's really no difference. So for sometimes I think it comes from a place of fear, and maybe a lack of understanding of the craft, where they would kind of be like, whoa, that has no place in Masonry. Incense, I think, is there, but there's been some situations that maybe we could talk offline, really,
right?
But nothing that I just redirect and be have adaptive intelligence to just kind of know where to push, where not to push, and how much to push. Hence why I started my own podcast, Maldo's Magic, so that I could discuss these topics.
I like the plug. That was a good drop.
Well, I don't know if I expressed that question to the highest ability of my communication. I don't know about the highest ability.
I think you're expressing your question, and to a point where
it's open.
It's we're live now, so has it been sometimes? Yes, Has it been
so let me give you
surprising? But yes, it has.
Let me give you an example. Maybe you could elaborate on that. But meditation. A lot of times Masonry is operative in understanding certain symbols and what they represent, but the practice of Masonry is different than observing Masonry, and the practice of Masonry and being the best version of yourself, sitting there meditating. How am I not only a Mason in lodge, but also in the world? And a lot of times, just like church, people can be Christian just at church, and then when they go out into the world, they're not practicing those same values or living up to that example. And I can only speak on what I know, but when it comes to Masonry, from what I observed, being a brother to all and exemplifying that in society, sometimes it's missed. And when you introduce certain things that I don't know may have been forgotten or may not be a common practice in Masonry, like meditating, sitting with yourself, and that example comes in lodge. There's no degree that focuses on meditating, but that doesn't necessarily mean we can't speak about it in lodge.
There's no degree, but preparation for degrees should be or is at some lodges or at some jurisdictions a chamber of reflection.
Exactly.
And that's something that should and does take place before you embark on your journey to Masonry. And that's something that a Mason that's spiritually minded would see the benefits of it and impart that into their spiritual practice. A chamber of reflection. What's a chamber of reflection? A chamber, you're not speaking to anyone, so you're reflecting on the items therein, and you're also meditating on them too as well.
Right.
And it's a place where you could go within. Sometimes people think meditation means you need to have your eyes closed. Mm-hmm. You can meditate with your eyes open. You can still see the astral realm with your eyes open.
Astral realm. Elaborate on that.
So in Kabbalah is the Jewish mysticism, the system that has something called the tree of life, which we learn in the book of Genesis. So it has 10 spheres, and the sphere that we live and breathe in is Malkuth, the kingdom. The sphere above that, the ninth sphere, is Yesod, which is the astral realm, meaning that's the realm where when you sleep in and you go
subconscious, almost
subconscious, and where you go when you dream. Mm-hmm. So it's the realm of images, or the Akashic records, as more of a New Age term. So that's a place where you could go astrally, as long as you have the eye, and the scriptures say it. Once you make your eye, the two into one, make your eyes signal, like you see, single your eyes out. It's all about understanding that vision of that meditative space is always here with us. You have to just know how to get to it. Some say you go through the pineal gland. Some say you're going through your third eye, right? And it's all trying to talk to you about something, about a spiritual vision.
Yeah, and that's the beautiful part of it, being exposed to all these things. Cause
not to get too deep, but
we're here. I brought my swimmies. I can't swim, but I brought my swimmies. I'm in the pool. Those are the unknowns that I value. The things that breed more questions, because there is something deeper out there that we have yet to understand. People search for God, not understanding what God is, or even that voice in your head where you don't say any words, but you might be thinking, I'm hungry, or I want this, I want that. What voice is that? As a child, you knew to cry because you were hungry. There was a feeling that you had, and then there was a thought, and then an action. You start crying. You wanted to be breastfed, or whatnot when you were a child. Before you even knew what language was, what voice is that? And there's got to be some type of explanation that's not survival's instinct. There's something there. There's a consciousness that exists, in my opinion. And, the human journey is maybe the effort to try to define that and what that may be.
Well, some say that's the subconscious. So within Kabbalah, they say that that is on the tarot lovers card. That is the female. That is the Eve. That's that female part of us that's within, right? That receives. The moon receives the light from the sun. The sun is the conscious mind, the male aspect of it. So some say that part of us is closest to the angels. That's why in the tarot card, the lovers, which is connected to the zodiac sign Gemini, you see the archangel above it, which is Raphael, and the male is looking at the female, which is looking above, meaning that the inner part of us, the divine feminine, the subconscious, is closest to the divine, and that's the part of us that created us. Meaning, when you're conceived, the mother doesn't have to say, "All right, let's create the left ear now," right? How does it do that? What intelligence has to be an intelligence to be able to create every part of the body that makes it to be ready before birth in 9 months?
You don't think that's a program?
It's a program, the Kabbalists say, done by the subconscious. The subconscious part of us is the one that's closest to God, and it's the one that's running those operations, because when you sleep, you don't have to say, all right, heart, keep beating, keep digesting. It automatically does it. Because imagine if you had to do it, you would forget. We forget things all the time. So that's why the subconscious, the divine feminine within, that high priestess, is the one that runs all the operations according to Kabbalah.
Oh, wonderfully said. Wonderfully said. What do you think about that?
That's great. I'm just sitting back. I'm just enjoying this right here.
Yeah, it's like an episode of Ancient Aliens, almost, right? But that's the beauty in this, just to be exposed to different subjects.
Yeah.
Different subjects of life, because we all share this space of life together, and to see you speak about something that you're passionately interested in, and it also breeds the curiosity. Like, wow, it's a different perspective on a way to look at life, a way to when you sit with yourself and you have these inner thoughts, or you have these things that happen to you, right? Or a death of a parent, God forbid, or anything else, a friend, and you sit with yourself and you try to break down the why is this happening, and just to have a deeper understanding of life and its purpose and how we exist and maneuver within those conflicts and wins and all of those things that happen to us. It's our story. To tap into the astral realm, for lack of better words, and to try to impose some type of will with that is also a duty that we have. Certain people have ceremonial things that they do to try to do that. Other people's carry a lucky rabbit's foot, or oh, I just got this promotion at work and I have my lucky coin on me. That's a way of imposing some type of will in life in its simplest form. Other people, focus on certain rituals. It's all one and the same. Some of it is a little bit more complex. Some of it is a little bit more simple.
Or some have one of these.
What's that? Gurkha. But the first time you were exposed to Roy, the first time you were exposed to something like that, it can be a little bit uncomfortable, or it can be something that it's like, wow, this breeds a lot of curiosity in me. I want to learn more about it.
So I'm Catholic, right? That's I've been a Catholic my whole entire life. Like I am now, still go to church with my kids, and kids, married in church, receive all the sacraments. It's okay to observe other things. It's okay to study other things. You don't have to practice them in order to understand them. And I feel it's so important to just understand it, because I don't think one religion or one system has it all figured out. But I feel like if you know a little bit about them all, you might be able to kind of maybe put together like what you think is right and not right.
Right. Especially in a world. The world is huge, but it's become smaller with the internet and all those other things. But when you're coexisting with so many different people, and you live in a society as we do, where everything is kind of out there, as long as, again, your beliefs and who you are as a person, it doesn't really impose any type of danger, I don't think, from what I understand, to just let people be them. And then at the same time too, it's interesting. It's super interesting to me to see how people go about life in its simplest form. This is how this person goes through life. These are some of the things that they're interested in. These are also how they maneuver through life when presented conflict, or when they're presented certain things. And then some people don't do anything at all, and then you have people who take control. You have victims who themselves are like, oh, why is this happening to me? And don't try to take any charge and change and stuff like that. But I think it's beautiful when you see people do things that they're passionate about, in efforts to better themselves, not impose any type of control on others. But this is how this person maneuvers through life. This is how this person presents the world the best version of themselves. I think it's super honorable, and I think we need more of that.
I want to touch on Brother Roy. You said before the middle pillar, right? So you asked about that. I did the hexagram ritual right before, and you had said that the middle pillar, when it was done, I guess at the MagicK Guild, right, or somewhere, you felt something, right?
Yeah.
And just so the viewers can understand what the middle pillar is about, and it even relates to masonry too, because right now, if you could zoom to the center camera, you see behind Brother Dan in the center. He's in the middle. He's right now in the middle pillar, meaning he's in between the two pillars. So there's two pillars in masonry, and if you want to know what their names are, join. But in Kabbalah, it's the pillar of severity. That's the one on his right, and the pillar of mercy on his left. And in the middle is the middle pillar of beauty, because in the middle pillar is the center part, which connects to the sun, is called Tifereth. In Hebrew, that is beauty. So when the middle pillar as a ceremonial magic ritual, now this is doing basically taking masonry, taking the pillars, taking the symbolism, and doing a meditation or invocation that can help you harness with that middle part, which is that part of beauty, that Tifereth, that heart center, that Christ consciousness center. And you just basically say the names of God from the top, Kether. You say Eheye, you say Adonai, you say Yod-Heh Vav-Heh Elohim, you say Yod-Heh Vav-Heh Eloah V'Da'ath, you say Shaddai Okai and Adonai Haaretz, meaning you're saying the names of God in the middle pillar because you're trying to harness with yourself in the middle pillar, and then you're visualizing and moving the energy around you. So it's getting you to be balanced on that pillar of beauty. And what is beauty? Beauty is to be able to have a balance of severity and mercy, to not be polarized, to be it's like not black, not white, to be gray within your actions, to walk that middle way. So I just wanted to touch on that because you brought up the middle pillar, and that's something that's also part of my practice that I do, weekly, sometimes daily, depending on if I feel like I need to be balanced between these two pillars, which are present in Masonic symbolism.
Wow. There's really not much to say over that,
You could ask questions if you want, or
Well, I'll leave it to Roy.
You getting some great stuff today.
Again, the beauty in this fraternity is just having that exposure to all different versions of light.
Yeah.
The things that help us exist, and how brothers exist and maneuver within due bounds and the conflicts and wins of life. To touch on,
I have a question for you.
Go ahead.
So you went over, Brother Roy's last name, my last name.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about your last name. What have you done? What's your history?
So,
your name history too as well.
My father's Argentine. He came here when he was 6. I really don't know much about my father's side, and I get little pieces here and there because I'm not sure what he knows about his history, because he was so young. He came here with his mom, and they live a poor life. And my father is first generation here, and created a great life for us to kind of find our own way, and then continue to build off of his sacrifices and the sacrifices of my grandmother coming to America. And proud American, my father and my grandmother. We I don't know much, and that's one of the things that kind of intrigued me about Masonry, because I'm big on legacy, and to have the opportunity of knowing where you came from is big on me, right? Status of origin and all of these things. It wasn't until the social media age where I started connecting with my Argentine side. Culturally, I was raised very Puerto Rican. My mom's family's here. Also, my mother came from Puerto Rico and moved to New York when she was 3, I believe. And yeah, she came with a family, so I'm very familiar with my uncles, my grandfather, my grandmother, also everybody on the island. Not everybody on the island, but they had a big family. So culturally, I was raised Puerto Rican, but I really don't know much about my last name. And it's funny because half of my family is Maciana, the other half is Maciano. It has different spellings and stuff like that, so I really don't know. But to be part of an organization that stretches so far back was one of the things that really intrigued me, and I wanted to be part of that, something that stretched back into history. And it always intrigued me too that we're always in search of that. Where did we come from? Who are we? What are these things? And it's for me, I can only go from my father, and he was very upstanding. I'm 36, so bootlegs were a big thing back in the day. He was like, I'm never gonna buy anything unless it's has some type of honor. You know, I'm not gonna buy like those movies used to come out back in the day. Like the Matrix came out in the movie theater. Oh, we don't have to go buy 4 tickets to see it. We could just spend $5 and buy. No, we're not doing that. That's not honorable. So being upstanding, morally driven, always understanding that your last name is more important than your first. To live a life of honor has always been one of the things that he's maneuvered. I mean, he doesn't do a mile per hour over the speed limit. I don't think he's ever gotten a parking ticket. These are things that he takes very serious, and he believes in karma. Yeah. If he's taking a shortcut, somebody else is getting robbed of that, and he's lived that life for a very long time, as long as I can remember. So I like to conduct myself in a way that would make him proud. But I as far as history, I don't know. But I do almost everything with my last name in accordance with whatever I do affects the greater whole. It's very similar to masonry. Whatever I do as a mason and my conduct, it affects the greater whole. So I live life bigger than myself. I always do things like somebody's watching me, whether that be God or ancestors or things like that. But just try to live with honor.
Well, it's interesting. All 3 of us, right? And 3 is a significant number in masonry, right? And many groups and many religions. We have our last name starts with an M.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Musico, Marciano, Maldonado.
Yeah.
So if nothing else, there's something symbolic there, So I think that's it's incredible, and it's cool. I definitely recommend, do research on your last name, because there's a reason why, we might have common traits of righteousness and ethics. There's a reason why 3 of us, decided to become Masons, and I think it has to do with who our ancestors were.
Right.
Really.
Let's go. I mean, we've been here almost 5 hours. 1, 2. I think this is the fourth
podcast marathon tonight.
We filmed today.
It gets crazy when the fezzes come out.
Yeah. At least 4 or 5 different conversations, right?
A lot of good stuff today.
A lot of good stuff.
A lot of good stuff today.
But I appreciate your time, gentlemen, and we will continue to grow from constantly being around each other, and from that, more relationships will be born. And I'm sure you have friends and stuff like that. I have friends, you have friends, and we're gonna continue that upward trend of acquiring a better version of ourselves. So again, I appreciate you guys for spending time today on a Sunday, taking time. I know you're a family man. Let's continue to grow.
You got it, brother.
Thank you so much, brothers. Much love. Salute.
Salute.